Talking F1 with Steve, Neil and the Gov. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Monday night F1 pit stop. I'm your host, so I'm looking forward to about 20 minutes this evening. Obviously, there's no race this weekend, so 20 minutes of Formula One discussion. What we're going to do tonight is I've got 4 drivers on the wheel. I'm going to spin that wheel, baby, and we're going to see where it lands. And I'm going to ask my two friends, Steve and Neil, who you'll be meeting very shortly. If you're new to this channel, if you're not new to the channel, you'll know them very well. I'll be asking them what they think of said driver, how their season's been so far, what they need to do to improve, or whatever that may be. And don't forget, if you're watching live, do get involved. We are desperate for you to get involved. We are desperate to have the comments in the live chat. If you've watched any of the Talk in Town production shows, you'll know we love unfiltered live conversation, so do get involved. If you're brand new here, we are exactly as we say on the tin, Talking F1, the fan show for the fan, by the fan of Formula One, live and unfiltered, as it were. If you're watching on catch up, you can hear us on all good platforms. If you're listening on a good platform, please leave a 5-star review. Tell the world how amazingly great we are, particularly me. And welcome in. Good evening, EJ. I hope you are well. I hope you are fit and you are dandy. Louis Fenton. Evening all. Sorry, I haven't watched for a while, Gov. Louis, it's no excuse, my man, but you're back. That's the most important thing. That's all that matters. You are back in the fold and back under the wing. Talking of wings, let's bring in the man that loves to drive his cars, I hear, without power. The aficionado, Stephen Thompson.
No, I think Bottas he'll be the one to really hold out.
Stephen!
Evening, you're right.
Tell the world at home what I mean by that. Driving without power, because you love a good but no power.
I like a nice quick car, and I famously do not have one normally. And yeah, went for a nice little trip to Sheringham yesterday with the indoors and the other half, and my car just decided that it would lose its power. I had no acceleration. My brake pedal would go rock solid. I've had a vacuum pipe burst. Oh. So my brakes are, I had to really stamp on the pedal just to get any any form of brake. And I put my foot down and it wasn't going anywhere. So it's in the garage now, and it's going to be in the garage tomorrow as well, having that sorted. So I'm currently carless.
Currently carless. I didn't even know cars had a vacuum pipe.
Yep, and it's not fun when they go, apparently, because you just lose all pressure. So, put my foot down and it would eventually get there, and then I'd go to stop, and I'd have to basically use a mixture of very sort of short dabs on the brake and engine braking to actually get it to slow down.
Oh, so you much rather would have preferred a Formula One race this weekend, without a doubt, then? I
would. It's been a very up and down week.
It has. Well, you're here now.
Yeah.
You're among friends. You're with friends. Louis and EJ in the chat. Me here. Neil coming on very shortly. And we're going to talk your favourite sport. But before we do, you're a big Williams fan. That is without doubt. Everyone knows that. So talk to me as somebody who's getting into the sport brand new. Williams is Dave Robson. Has been full of praise of Mercedes reserve driver Nick de Vries after his FP1 outing. What does that actually mean? Are we going to be seeing Latifi disappearing and Nick de Vries coming in sometime soon? Is it just media page filler? What does this actually mean then? Because he's praised him up quite well.
Yeah, he was really singing his praises. De Vries drove in FP1 in place of Alex Albon, so he was alongside Nicholas Latifi for that session. Ended up a couple of tenths faster than Latifi. Obviously, don't know what programs they were running or anything like that, and fuel loads and whatnot. But De Vries, certainly made a good name for himself in that car in that one short session. Still racing in Formula E. He's the current Formula E champion. But there's a lot of rumours about him getting into Formula One, possibly in the place of Nicholas Latifi, should Latifi's performances not pick up and should he not justify keeping that seat, really. I'll be all for it. I think he's a great driver and he's got a lot of potential. I can't really say he's a young driver anymore now because he's 27.
Yeah, that's not young, is it?
No, so he'd be he wouldn't be a young rookie.
Rookie.
I don't want to say senior old because he's not old, but
a very senior rookie.
He'd be a more senior level rookie. But But yeah, it'd be good to see him in Formula One. He's a very good, talented driver.
I'm 32, so he's not old. Trust me.
No,
But
not at all.
in terms of when you're discussing rookies, he is old.
Yeah, because when you're a rookie coming into Formula One, rookies we've got now, rookies we've had in the past, you're now thinking late teens, early 20s. Verstappen was 16, 17. Stroll was around 17, maybe 18, I think. Maybe a little bit older, not 100%. But yeah, you'd be thinking, early teens at the oldest, really, to be finally making that break into Formula One. 27 is a few years later than you'd really want to. But the dice just haven't fallen for
You
him.
can be an F1 driver before you're legally allowed to drive on UK roads.
Verstappen was. He has to take his driving test after he's an F1 driver. I'm sure I read that.
That's literally blown my mind. Wow.
You do know who I am, right? I'm a Formula One driver, yeah, but I still can't let you go to Aldi. Sorry, buddy.
Imagine that. You can't even dawdle around Aldi car park, but there you are flying around Silverstone at 250 whatever miles per hour they fly themselves around at. Good. But well, that's me. Well and truly mind blowing for the day. Yeah, he's obviously Formula E champion. I saw about that this weekend. I always quite enjoy Formula E.
I try to. I watched some of the highlights from the most recent race, and I really tried to enjoy it, but I just can't get into it.
It's like watching Sky Electrics.
It sounds dull.
Like somewhere you just think there's somebody pressing the button.
Yeah,
like the old fairground ride. You know what I mean? Like because they all follow the same pattern around the grid, which they do in F1, of course, the driving line. But yeah, I love it. I think it's a really, really good sport. You're not bored.
I'm not bored. I mean, I try to watch it every season, but I never get into it. I always just go back to Formula One. But it's a good idea. I love what they've done with it, and it's got a lot of potential, and it is fantastic. The whole concept is amazing. And now they're evolving it so the cars can complete a full race distance without the drivers needing to swap cars mid-race is really good. But I just can't enjoy it, and there's so many F1 rejects that go into it. They really are. Their time finishes in Formula One, so they go to Formula E, it seems.
It's crazy. I love it, and I wonder if it's the future, because environmental concerns, climate change, environmental friendly groups. You shake your head. I just, who knows where we could be in 20 years' time.
It will never replace Formula One. I reckon F1 is always going to have some form of internal combustion. Obviously, they really are pushing the efficiency of it now and the hybrid side of it. The next engine regulations coming in 2026 are going to be even more efficient than they are now. So that they are pushing that electrical side of it, but you're always going to have that internal combustion part remaining. You leave the electrics to the likes of Formula E. You've now got Extreme E. So,
do you question, before we bring in Neil? Do you question how a sport can ever truly, particularly Formula One, can ever truly be carbon neutral or even moving towards the benefit of climate change? Because take Formula One for example. We were in Monaco last week. We're in Azerbaijan next week. We go to all around the country. Of America only a couple of weeks ago. You ain't getting there on prayers and wishes.
It's a tricky thing.
Via fuel.
It's a tricky thing, isn't it? Because F1 wants to be more sustainable and it wants to be, better for the planet and that sort of thing. But they're getting an increasingly congested calendar with all these flyaway races. So if you have 3 American races together, fair enough. But you go to America, you then come back to Europe, you then go back to America, down to South America, across Australia. There's all these different places.
Oh, crumbs, yeah, for Australia. Yeah, absolutely. We were only there a couple of weeks ago, weren't we? So you went from Australia. Yeah. So just to put the cherry on the icing bun there. De Vries completed 28 laps of the circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya during his hour in the FW44, finishing 18th fastest and a 10th of a second up on Williams racer Nicholas Latifi as of Formula1.com. Look at that. He's already faster than Latifi. He's only been in it 10 minutes.
Yeah, he's good. He's got
Should that ever happen?
Potential.
Like, surely Latifi's been in that car all season, right?
Well, you'd like to think so. But I don't know. If he doesn't up the performances soon, Williams aren't going to hang around. And they don't need Latifi's money anymore.
No. Where would he go?
I think he'd drop out.
Even with the sponsor, even with the sponsorship money that he brings to the table.
Unless someone like Haas would take a shot on him, but they're happy with Schumacher and Magnussen right now. It'd be a team that needs the money more.
Yeah, you can just walk around, take a chance on me. I bring the fee. Nicholas Latifi. That was
he's even got his own jingle,
as you can tell. Louis Fenton, De Vries has a good chance of getting into Formula One. He's shown potential of being a really good driver. EJ Norris, Latifi makes too many mistakes, and Louis again. De Vries is struggling this year. His teammate Van der Roon is looking strong, but I think both of them and Mitch Evans have a chance of getting the F1 seats. 27, did you say he was?
Yeah.
Neil Moles, my opening question to you, sir, is 27 years of age. Why has he not been picked up by an F1 team yet? Mr. Positivity, Neil Moles.
Yeah, but we're crap. We're not going to dominate any team.
There he is. He'll bring the positive spin. So why isn't he being picked up at 27 years of age? Why? What about him has sort of deterred teams, if you like, Neil?
I'm not sure if anything's particularly deterred teams. He's just been a Mercedes driver, and they've had drivers, so no position for him.
Is it? Can you? So when you are signed to a Mercedes, is there a way you can? Is it a contract thing? Is it? Can you buy out of your? Can you buy your way out of it? Are you signed in regardless? How does it work in the world of Formula One? Because obviously in NFL, for example, once a player is drafted, unless they are released from a contract, they're tied to that team unless the team says otherwise.
Drivers generally move from team to team. That's not too much of an issue. Obviously, the team that has signed him has to agree. But at the end of the day, if drivers really want out, they'll buy themselves out.
They'll find a way. Obviously, the Jubilee this weekend. Has the royal family ever paid an interest in the world of Formula One? Neil, have they ever been guests at races? They're huge on horse racing, for example. And obviously, the Queen presented the World Cup trophy to England when they won it, obviously at home soil. Have they ever been involved with the world of Formula One?
I'm not 100% sure. Steve, have any of the royals turned up to Silverstone?
I would imagine so over the course of history, but I wouldn't want to say for sure.
But not prominently that you would go, oh yes, they're often seen at a Formula One event, or
you don't often see them around there. No, I'm sure one of them would have turned up at some point, but none spring to mind really.
So not a royal sport then, as you would say, with horse racing, etc. Interesting. Did we have a nice weekend, Neil?
Yeah, not too bad.
Did you celebrate the Golden Jubilee?
Yeah, it's fabulous.
Good man. That's about as patriotic as you're going to get Neil Monks this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. But something that does get something that does get Neil rather, not Neil's. Neil rather excited is his team, McLaren. Now I'm going to talk to you about Danny Ricciardo because he agrees with Zach Brown's comments that McLaren's stint hasn't met the expectations so far. Is he being harsh on himself, Neil, or has Danny Ricciardo really disappointed?
I think he's just the way everything's gone. He's disappointed himself, which is understandable. He's not where he wants to be. He's struggling compared to Lando. I don't know if you heard as well that it's down to him whether he wants to terminate his contract early or not, or whether he wants to persist and trying to improve.
Okay, that's good to know.
I didn't know that. Is it?
Interesting. Yeah, it'd be nice to see him. It's such a shame to see Ricciardo as he is right now. So it'd be great to see him sort of get to grips with it and really drag himself back up there on the performance of Norris and push for the higher places again.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I did want him to do really well. I still would like him to do well, but I'm almost torn at the point now where I just want someone decent in to push Lando.
So you'd be happy with if Ricciardo was let go in the summer?
Well, like I say, I think it's down to him if he wants to leave and pursue something else. But at this stage, I'd be surprised if another team picked him up. It'd probably be something fun for him outside of the sport.
Have McLaren got a link with Mercedes? Could they possibly be a team that look at Nick de Vries?
They could. I'm not 100% sold on Nick de Vries.
What are your thoughts?
To be honest, I don't know that much about him. But
you do
the
know
fact that I don't know much. Well, I'll say I'd know something about him if it was really good.
I mean, that's one way of looking at it, I suppose, Steve.
It does make sense. You know, I mean, the guy's gone fairly under the radar. He's 27 years old now. You know, usually a young driver bursts onto the scene and everyone's like, like a Max Verstappen, and everyone's talking about him, a George Russell and Charles Leclerc. But De Vries, the dice haven't fallen for him. He's been a Mercedes driver for many years, but he's never had that opportunity. And I almost thought it had passed him by. If he does get the chance to make a debut in Formula One and to get that chance, then brilliant. But yeah, like you say, you'd have thought that you'd have heard more about him.
Was it around about the same time that Van Dorn entered Formula One? Was a similar time De Vries should have done if he was.
Yeah, I think if not after, I think De Vries was talked about before Van Dorn, and Van Dorn got his chance, and
that
was a bit
squandered it. In some ways, Van Dorn got unlucky with the terrible car and had a teammate that was as good as Alonso is.
Yeah, Van Dorn, I think, did the best with what he had at his disposal in the situation he was in. But he did disappoint because he came on with a lot of fanfare, this incredible next big thing, but never really materialised, and he sort of silently went off to Formula E. But yeah, I think he was mentioned and he was talked about really after De Vries. De Vries was, I think, towards the end of the Button-Hamilton era at McLaren, sort of around 2011, 2012, people first started talking about De Vries.
I think you have to question when Mercedes needed a driver to replace Lewis at Bahrain. Why did they choose what's his name, George Russell, rather than go with De Vries or Van Dorn? Because I know Van Dorn was really annoyed because he was, say, the man to take the seat, reserve driver, the man to take the seat normally, but he was pushed aside.
I don't know if it was a case of maybe contrasting or conflicting schedules, maybe a Formula E and De Vries. I'm not too sure.
Okay, that could have put him out of it, but like I say, Van Dorn was in the garage.
Yeah, he was right there, wasn't he? And it's like they looked over his shoulder and went, "Yeah, I will have you, Russell. We'll go for you instead." So yeah, it's a tricky one, but I still think it's the right call when they went for Russell.
It seems that when Mercedes are so interested in, say, helping the likes of Bottas to seal a drive, weren't they also the same with Ocon? They really wanted to make sure he was still on the grid and things and get him a drive. If he was, say, in the same ilk as either of those two, surely they'd be really sorting a seat out. It's just taking a bit too long for them to be seen as a really great driver at this stage.
We've got some comments. We've got Norwich is just better right now than Ricciardo, says EJ Louis. It's a shame about Ricciardo. I think it's a case that the new style of the car hasn't suited him. Metal Jace Harry says, is there a talking town after this? There is. 8:30, and this man, he's on it with me this week. Look at that. Smiley, happy.
Well done, Steve.
We're talking about kit.
Made it to the big time. Oh yeah, one of my personal favourites.
When you got to talk about a kit, Steve's the man to go to. That's
Are you talking about the car in Knight Rider?
That's it.
Metal Jays, have you seen the photo posted on Twitter, Reddit, a few days ago of a Puma store in Prague showing Lewis Hamilton as 8-time world champion? Seems like Hamilton sponsors are Michael Massey fans.
Brilliant. Haven't seen that.
I saw someone post this week. They wanted Michael Massey brought back. The way the Monaco Grand Prix started was disgusting, and they should bring back Michael Massey.
Well, unless he's suddenly an electrician and could predict the rain was going to come and enter the electrics.
Electrician.
Yeah,
That's a comment.
Bit of a joke.
Yeah, they must be taking the piss with that.
Well, there we go. I really
If that's the rate, he should be called Massey as the Messiah.
well, yeah, okay. We've got 4 drivers that we have picked out, or I've picked out rather. Okay, this is how we did it for those that are listening and watching at home. I said to Steve, give me a number between 1 and 5, 5 and 10, 10 and 15, 15 and 20. Didn't I, Steve?
Mm-hmm.
And you gave me 4 numbers, and those 4 numbers correlated to drivers based at the moment on their standing. So the 4 we have got are Lance Stroll, Valtteri Bottas, Pierre Gasly, and George Russell. I will spin the wheel. We will take it in turns. Well, you two will take it in turns, telling me about the driver, what sort of year they've had so far, and what they need to do to make the necessary changes, if changes are needed, moving forward as we progress to the next race and beyond. So first up, Steve, is for you. It is Lance Stroll. Currently, he is 17th in the Aston Martin, 2 points on the campaign. Talk to me about Lance Stroll.
Has he been in Formula One this year? I haven't seen him. He's had a very quiet year.
Wow.
He was beaten, I think, by Hulkenberg, or was certainly on the par with Hulkenberg at the first opening rounds when Vettel was off or was away. He is being beaten by Vettel. He's only scored a couple of points. He's been very anonymous. He's been in a couple of scrapes here and there. Some have been his fault, some haven't. He's just been really absent.
Not the year you expected from Stroll?
No, well, from neither Aston Martin, really, because I thought this year would be a year they could really push on and start to get to the head of the midfield with their plans they've got in place. But no, it's been another disappointing start to the year for him. Obviously, the car isn't fantastic. Vettel's been struggling in it as well. But what you'd expect, Seb's getting more out of it than Lance is.
Yep. Vettel 15th on 5 points. So not amazingly much better than Stroll.
It's a disappointing season for the whole team, but Lance is really below par again.
Is it a simple case though, Neil, that Stroll, when you compare the 2 drivers, Stroll is not as good as Sebastian Vettel. So when you've got a poor car, you would expect to see Vettel performing a little bit better than Lance Stroll.
The old Vettel that we knew, then you'd say definitely he should be outperformed by him. But I think Seb is still finding his feet, and I don't know if he's 100% convinced what he wants to do, whether he wants to actually still be there or not.
But that's the thing, isn't it? They've got a poor car. The car last year wasn't too bad. They got a podium out of it. This year's car has been poor so far. If Seb is starting to drop off, he's obviously getting older a bit in terms of F1. If he is a bit maybe discouraged or a little bit disillusioned with the whole thing now and what he wants to do, you'd have thought that Lance Stroll would be right there snapping at his heels, because he's still a young guy. He's still potentially got a number of years in the sport, but he's not. He's not really taking the fight to Seb. And that's all in a car like that. That's all you can do, really.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so where to from here for Lance Stroll then, Steve? What does he need to do to move forward?
First step, get that car into Q2.
In the bin.
Well, no, get that car into Q2 first of all, because Seb's managing it quite well.
Okay, so get into Q2 and then you build a platform from there.
Yeah, all he can really hope is he gets into Q2, there's a race with a bit of attrition ahead of him, so he can maybe pick up a point or two. That might be what he needs, but we'll see. Okay.
Neil, for yourself, where I have got George Russell. He is arguably the better of the 2 at Mercedes, currently sat in 4th position on 84 points. George's rookie year at Mercedes, has it gone as well as you thought? Has it gone better than you thought it could possibly go? And where next for the young Brit?
Well, I'm not sure if many of us saw Mercedes having a car quite like they've had this season. Besides that, I think George has probably been better than expectations. But on the other hand, the media was full of George will be, Lewis's number 2, and basically don't push yourself too much. Just fill the seat and do a job. But like I say, it's been consistent and it's done some solid drives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, better than you expected, Steve. Obviously, a big fan of George. Is this a better year so far?
Yeah, been a big fan of George since he had that first season at Williams back in 2019. Great to see him go on to bigger and better things at Mercedes, and it is great to see him taking the fight to Lewis. I think he's had a very good season. Fortunate in a couple of instances, especially with that podium in Australia, obviously with Verstappen having a late retirement. But the thing with George, he's kept his nose clean. He's been in the right place at the right time, and he seems to be more comfortable in that car than Lewis. And he's doing very, very well. So he's the only man to finish in the top 5 in every race so far. Everything he's doing everything that Mercedes could ask for him from him and more.
Okay, all right. Steve, for yourself, I have got your friend, Valtteri Bottas.
Good on Bottas. I've not had much bemoaning Bottas this year, and I like that. It's good. He's
Currently
doing very, very well.
40 points. Yeah, Alfa Romeo
really
is driving
good.
for now. By far and away the best Alfa Romeo driver. Zhao is on 1.18. So Valtteri Bottas, obviously it's gone better than you thought it would in his first year with Alfa. Talk to me about him.
I've been very critical of Bottas the past few seasons and his lack of fight that he had at Mercedes. I think this is a whole new opportunity for him. He's got a fresh mentality. He's the undisputed number 1 in that team. Zhou scored a point on his debut, but hasn't done anything else since. You can't expect too much, I suppose. He's a rookie in a midfield car. Bottas seems to be driving with more confidence than he has done for a while. He seems more at ease. There's not that pressure over his head. He's been in the points in 90% of the races this year, and he's been in Q3. He's been mixing it with the likes of Mercedes every now and then with Lewis. So he's been doing really, really well. I'm incredibly happy for him. I think this is just what he needed, just what his career needed as well.
A jump start for Valtteri then, Neil.
Yeah, he's driven well. I am happy for him. When he was at Williams, he was a favourite on the grid. He was performing well, and then Mercedes snapped him up, and he almost seems to have faded a little bit into Lewis's little shadow driver. But yeah, it's good to see him pressure off his shoulders, and he can enjoy himself again.
Yeah, I think you're seeing what he can do now, especially because, again, it was those performances in the Williams, wasn't it? Because the Williams, he was in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, he was in the Williams. And he was getting performances out of that car that weren't really there at the lot of them. I remember Canada 2013, he put it 3rd on the grid, which was unheard of because that 2013 car was dismal. And then he was competing for podiums with Felipe Massa for those few years in the Martini Williams. He was outperforming Massa, who was a championship contender a few years previous. So I think we're seeing the pre-Mercedes Bottas come back. Obviously, he's a few years older, but he's now driving without that pressure and without that shadow. So yeah, I'm really happy for him, and I hope Alpha can give him a good car that he can compete in more towards the front. I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah,
he really shows the pace he's got because of his qualifying ability. I just think if he needs to improve anywhere, it's say a little bit of his time management.
Yeah,
I think that's his weak spot.
And who could forget that photo of him in a river with his arse hanging out? That is going to be memed to eternity.
As it should be.
Absolutely.
It should be. Louis Fenton, I think this season shows how good Bottas actually is. The performance he is getting out of the Alfa Romeo, this compared to the drivers last year, is great. Last but certainly not least, Pierre Gasly. Neil, talk to me about Pierre Gasly, or has it been ghastly? 14th, 6 points out of the AlphaTauri.
It's had a little bit of a season to forget so far. I don't believe the AlphaTauri is particularly a great car this season.
No.
And I'd say they've, like a few others, they've missed a trick, really. They could have pushed on, and they're sort of nowhere. But his teammate has, at the very least, shown that he can be on a level par, if not a tiny bit better this season.
I think Sonoda's actually got more points than Gasly at this stage, isn't he?
He has. But you never know with the way races pan out, that sort of thing, and DNFs through car faults. The Honda or the Red Bull rebranded Honda isn't the most reliable this season. So how much is on Gasly and how much is on the car is up for debate. But he's not in the limelight like he was last season where people were praising him. So he is fallen off a bit this season.
Okay, all right. Next week we are in Azerbaijan. What are we expecting from the race next week then? Who's going to be taking pole for both you lads? Steve?
I'm going to go with Max Verstappen pole.
Why Max Verstappen? What about him?
Well, he's very quick around Azerbaijan. I think the circuit is going to favour the Red Bull, although it's obviously that long straight which might come towards the Ferrari, but I think the Red Bull will get it.
Okay. Steve thinks the Red Bull's going to get it. Neil?
I think I agree a fair bit with Steve. The Red Bull is strong there, so is Max Verstappen. But I also think after Monaco, Max has got a little bit of a point to prove and, bounce back.
Yeah, this could. Well, you never know. Perez, don't count him out now. He's really found his form, hasn't he? So,
right, Charles Leclerc.
I still want him to win so badly, but I don't think the circuit is going to favour the Red Bulls more.
Okay.
I hope I'm pleasantly surprised.
What sort of circuit is Baku?
It's a tricky one. It's a mixture of long straights, left and right hand 90-degree corners with a nice little twiddly bit in the middle through the Old Town section with very close walls. A bit like Monaco, but with more opportunities to actually overtake.
Mm-hmm.
It's a decent circuit. It often provides. Yeah, I don't mind it. It often provides some unexpected races. We've had people like Lance Stroll got a podium there and an awful Williams, Perez in underperforming Force Indias. We've had Aston Martins. Yeah, it's unpredictable. And yeah, like Louis said, fast. It's like a fast Monaco that you can overtake at. It's brilliant.
Okay. Fast Monaco that you can overtake at, says Mr. Thompson. Neil, before we go, are you a fan of Baku?
I am. Yeah, it's been a good track. Has it been so ever since it's made it onto the calendar?
No, its first race was 2016. Everyone was bigging it up and thought it was going to be amazing and the next best thing, and it was a dismal, boring race. So it's had the odd stinker, but I suppose every circuit has at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But
of late,
since then it's been amazing because you've had like Lance Stroll and Valtteri Bottas fighting to the line. You've had Valtteri Bottas have a tyre blowout while leading the race. You had the two Red Bulls, Verstappen and Ricciardo, obviously hit each other, took each other out of the race a few years back. Last year, Stroll, heavy accident, and then Verstappen's tyre blew. Perez won there last year. So it throws up some exciting races. It really does.
Okay.
Should be a good one.
Should be a good one. Middle Jace, don't forget the manhole covers that fly in the air.
Oh, yeah, on those.
Right. Where are we next week, Steve? And let's lead us out, my man. What a show.
Well, we are back 7:15 on Monday, reviewing what's hopefully been a nice, exciting, chaotic Azerbaijan Grand Prix with Charles Leclerc taking the win. Please, another podium for George Russell would be quite nice. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for commentating. Absolutely love to see it. So we'll see you Monday at 7:15.